All right, everybody, this is James Pelton, and here today with an AMA for ArkFi. And this was one suggested to me by my audience. So someone from my audience said, hey, you got to check out ArkFi. And so I did, and we worked out an AMA. So I'm excited to talk through this today. You'll have to excuse me. I think I might have COVID for the third time, so I'm not feeling super great, but never feeling too sick to do an AMA. You know, I'm pretty dedicated to this. Also, I have the Argentina game on in the background, so if there's a good goal or something, we'll pause the AMA for everyone to watch the goal, and then we'll come back to it. So what I need from you guys as we get going, first off, welcome Funny Turo as a new member of my community. So it's kind of just in name only because he's been a part of my community for a long time, but Funny Turo, happy to have you here. Tycho, good to see you. Scott, good to see you. If I could have Alif, good to see you as well, brother. If I could have everybody hit the like button, that would be great as we get going here. Want to get as many eyes on this project as we can. Mistletoe, good to see you. DC, good to go. Question for the day. I like questions of the day. Let's ask, what team do you think is going to win the World Cup? Okay, there's the question for the day. Or you can comment, you don't care about the World Cup. That's, you know, a lot of Americans. It's amazing how few Americans even know what the World Cup is or anything like that. So let me go ahead and bring on some of the team here. So here we go. Welcome, ArkFi team. Good to see you. I know we're working through a few technical issues here as we get going. But if you guys could start, and you can go in any order, maybe Atlas Ark, since he's at the top, could go first. But if you could start by introducing yourself and give a little your background, and then we will get into the project.
Great. Do we have the rest of my team here? I see Mr. Green, Brett Norton. Okay, they just got in. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for the invitation to your channel here on YouTube. You've got a great reputation, great investors in the DeFi space. So a lot of respect and really an honor and a pleasure to be invited. Thank you, Mr. Pelton.
Thank you. It's great to have you.
We are Ark Finance, short ArkFi, but they're saying a lot Ark. So to tell a little bit about myself, I'm 46 years old. I have lived most of my life in the United States. Started as an oil trader, working with Trafigura, VTOL, doing a lot of leverage and arbitrage of physical commodities, and then ending up in Asia, running structured trade finance desk for banks. So after that, shifted from the oil sector, went really into renewable energy, primarily solar, and I did development in the United States as well as in China. And from that, I also got involved about 15 years ago, doing a lot of work with avoided deforestation out in the Congo and the Amazon rainforest, working with carbon credits in the United Nations. And I've been in, let's say just crypto probably since around 2016, trading my own, earnings from the real world, diversifying. And that nearly gave me a heart attack. And that's how I ended up coming to DeFi. The leverage, man, is pretty intense in volatility. So I got into DeFi and, invested, and then was invited to come onto a project as an advisor, and brought family and friends into it, and did really well. And at the same time, I said, well, this is something pretty interesting that I could bring a lot of my business development skills from the real world and create something very interesting. And about February this year, I was approached by a few people that told me, hey, Atlas, we've seen you around. We know what you did with the other project. Amazing work. Do you think that you could come up with an ROI DApp that would really be a game changer? And I'm working on a layer 1 protocol for the past almost 2 years. And it's going to take about another year and a half to really come out to market, solely based on renewable energy validation, the whole network off grid. So I said, hey, let's go for this challenge. So we started back in February. Very hard to find great developers, especially on the Solidity and the React Web3 sides. Went through quite a few teams and people that would just overpromise and underdeliver, if you know what I mean, James. And man, it was quite the journey. And with that, we had a great opportunity really to see that there were some great projects that came out in that time since February, and a lot of new ideas, alpha, and we were able to kind of take advantage of what we all call hindsight's 2020. we could look back, see what was effective and see what was not so great and effective. So through that process, we also did a phase 1 that we launched on Kronos, as I was trying to really find the dream team, Barcelona, right? We're trying to get those guys in here. So we had to go through quite a few people to find the best of the best. And with that, we've come to a point where we have this fantastic project. We're going to talk all about it with you. Again, thank you for inviting us. And I'm going to turn it over to Brett Norden, who we met in our phase 1. He was an investor. And I'm going to let him come and introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Atlas. Sorry, I was struggling there a little bit with my connection, so I switched over to my phone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear. That's the beauty of lives. You get to see all this authenticity.
Yeah. I was on the struggle bus there for a second, but yeah, I met Atlas through our phase 1 project, and we just hit it off. We both kind of came from similar trading backgrounds in crypto. I've been in crypto for about 4 years now, and started in the typical buy and hold tokens, and then got more familiar and comfortable, started trading, and then that didn't really pan out the way I'd hoped. I had hoped to generate a passive income. I have a bit of a nomadic lifestyle. I've been in the digital business for quite a while and have the ability to travel and work anywhere in the world. So crypto was that outlet for passive income for me. But with the trading side of things, with all the volatility and the difficulty and the market conditions, it just didn't lend itself completely to that lifestyle. So about a year and it's probably been a year and 2 months now, 3 months. I discovered Drip, came in through Team Cryptozoa, which I know you're familiar with, and just fell in love with the whole DeFi yield space, and made a considerable investment into Drip and several of the other projects that are in the ecosystem, Elephant and a couple other daily ROI dApps, and just fell in love with the technology and the community and everything surrounding that. And once I met Atlas and saw what was happening in the phase 1, and the future plan was to come in with a some kind of drip fork, or if you want to say a bankroll flow base model, and then add a considerable amount of upgrades, features to it to enhance it, and kind of take a look, as Atlas mentioned, about what was going on with the other daily ROI dApps and what could we learn, what the best practices are, and then take the features that we really loved and integrate them all into one sort of superstar daily ROI dApp. And I think that's what we've got here at Ark. So we looked at the key sustainability features, and we really enhanced them. We took them to the next level. We also looked at what makes liquidity really tick. We'll talk a little bit about the liquidity controller concept we have, and how it's different from what we've seen with other LMS systems. But I think we really added our mark on this daily ROI space, and we took the things that we believe will create the most long-term sustainability, and we built them into the mechanics of the system. So we have a couple different measuring tools that we use, and I call them goalposts, things that kind of keep the investors tracking in a certain way to really take a lot of the stress off the systems that we've seen, both from a price standpoint, but also liquidity standpoint. So yeah, that's kind of my introduction and how I ended up here. And my role has been sort of to help research and then really architect or engineer the Ark system and the various products that are in the ecosystem.
Awesome. No, I love that. One of the things I love about this space is as projects, do well and then do poorly, new projects pop up that have kind of learned and they've changed things. And then, it's a new experiment with these new, with what we've learned from previous ones, kind of moving forward into the space. So the goal is we see the space, moving forward as a whole. So I like that. Mr. Green, are you here yet? I know he had a couple things you had to finish up.
Yeah, I'm here with you guys.
Awesome. Do you want to do just a quick introduction and then we'll start jumping into the project?
Yeah, well, I'm the lead Solidity artist, as I like to call myself, not developer, because I love code. I started writing Solidity bit more than 2 years ago, and because I was just not happy with the way code was written by other people, and I was started forking, changing, adapting, optimizing. But at some point, I realized like I'm trying to fix a broken thing, so I started writing everything from scratch. Even here with Ark, when they asked me to fork something like Drip and then add something to it, I said nope. If I do this, I'm gonna do it right. So I'm gonna do everything from scratch. So yeah, and that's how we came to like build this whole ecosystem. I asked Brett. I just read the white paper and asked Brett about all the details, and I wrote it all uh, the way it's supposed to work. And I've just gotten some amazing compliments from auditors and the hackers we hired to try to exploit it and like find loopholes. And they all told me that the code is more like a poem, like it's poetic rather than chunk code. And I'm just really happy to hear that feedback. And yeah, I write Solidity. That's the thing I do.
Okay, very cool. Nice to meet you guys. So awesome to have you on the channel. And what I usually like to do is, could you start by giving us an elevator pitch of what Ark is meant to do? And I can share my screen, you can share your screen, but kind of just wanted to just give us kind of an elevator pitch of what you're doing.
Brett, you want to go ahead and get us started with that?
Sure, I can do that. So the main goal of Ark is to create a passive income for investors who are looking for a stable place to make an investment, but then also grow that investment over time. So no matter how small of an investment that you can afford at this point in time, through compound interest and then the daily ROI, which can be up to 2% daily, you can take a very small investment and grow it into a very large one, and over time create a passive income stream that can help pay bills, potentially replace income. But it's really that outlet during a bear market like this. We know people are looking for a place to put a small portion that they can risk. It's risk capital, and potentially get a very nice yield and a sustainable yield over time. So that's really our goal here, is to take what we've seen as being a very complicated process in DeFi, and then simplify that down in a way that attracts more people to our space. And we hope to grow the number of crypto users and DeFi users exponentially through simplified technology and giving them an opportunity to get a quick return on investment and then grow that investment into a stable income stream over time.
Okay, no, very cool. Yeah, that's one of my passions too, is for this space to succeed, we need to bring new people in. So I like the marketing here up here at the top. ArkFi is for moms, ArkFi is for dads, and I like that, kind of making crypto accessible for everyone. So it looks like it's kind of broken down the ecosystem into 3 parts. Is that kind of right? Maybe we could just go through these one by one and talk a little bit about them.
Sure, I can do that also. The first one is the Ark Vault, and that's the one that most people are most familiar with. I think if they're familiar with Drip or Furio, Piston, those other protocols. That's our daily ROI DApp, and that's the up to 2% daily return on investment. So as you make a deposit, that initial deposit then goes into your principal balance, and then you earn up to that 2% on your principal balance every day. And over time, if you compound and grow that principal balance, or you get referral rewards into the system, that can ultimately grow up to a certain point where the total rewards paid out over time for that wallet will be up to 80,000 tokens. And so that's what we talked about as, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, depending on the behaviors and how you're managing that investment, can grow significantly up to that 80,000 paid out in total rewards that you can accumulate over time.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I think the immediate question, just knowing my audience and everything, is going to be like, well, we've kind of seen what's happened to Drip, since January, pretty much for the last year. It kind of just been this trend down. What kind of things do you think are you guys doing differently so that won't happen in ArkFi?
Sure, we have a couple different mechanisms. The one thing that we've seen kind of across the board, and not even to pick on Drip, but we've seen that there's the the mantra and the main focus of the community has always been to compound and to compound, 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 and with this hope that at some point you're going to reach a max payout. And we call it, hyper compounding. And that behavior in and of itself is basically we're kicking the can down the road, right? So what we're doing is we're sort of racing to the finish line. And then at that finish line, we all have to withdraw 100% of the time to claim out our tokens to whatever max payout that might be, depending on the protocol. So what we've done here is we've created what's called a CWR, which is a compound withdrawal ratio, which really forces a majority of wallets to compound in a more balanced manner. So we really encourage a 1.1. There is some flexibility, or sorry, a 1-to-1 compound withdrawal ratio. There is some flexibility in that number, but by claiming early and withdrawing and selling often, we can really level out the stress on the liquidity that we've seen happen, not just with Drip, but with other protocols as well, where everybody gets to that max payout number, and then the number of tokens that they have to claim every day is so high that they have, no other choice but then to sell. And then we see this price pressure and liquidity pressure on the chart, and it tends to cause these bad behaviors. Then the sentiment gets low. We see the big hockey stick that rides up in the beginning of the project, and then the big hockey stick down. People get discouraged or fearful, and so they're all sort of making this artificial bank run. And so what we've done is we've created this balance mechanism where we encourage people to take the profits early, get your ROI, so you're getting your initials back out, and then you're working with the house money. And that's really one of the things that Atlas preaches. We talk about in the community, but then also the mechanics are built into this CWR function in the DApp. So we're not really leaving this open to people. They don't have the option. They can't just hyper compound to the end. So that's one of the main things, is just a more balanced approach to profit taking. And that really is going to significantly change the game in terms of the long-term sustainability of the project.
Okay. Sorry,
yeah,
let me just interrupt you for a second, just because I think that is a really key point to make, is people don't understand. I think by now in DeFi, people are starting to get it, that compounding, but like Drip, for example, Drip is 365% APR, but if you compound, it becomes 3,700% APY. So that 365% APR is high enough and hard enough to deal with, but 3,700% APY is just, it's impossible to keep up with that. And I think that's part of the problem that we're having. So yeah, totally get that. And sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, if you wanted to keep going, just wanted to highlight that.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sure your audience gets that by now. I've been a longtime Drip investor and have kind of seen that play out. It benefits the few, and obviously the many can get caught on the short end of that. So yeah, we've really tried to create a more fair and balanced system for everyone. And there's several different mechanics related to kind of that whale behavior that we've seen, the manipulation of charts. And I'll go into one of the other things right now. None of the Ark, whether that's the pre-sale Ark that was available for people both private and public to purchase, all the team tokens, the advisor tokens, everything prior to launch is going to be locked into the daily ROI DApp. So it's all going into the Ark Vault and has to be earned out just like everyone else. But then also, even after our launch, you're not going to be able to buy any Ark on a third-party DEX. It all has to be purchased on our native DEX, and it gets automatically deposited into the Ark Vault. So there's no tokens in the wild. There's no tokens that were given to somebody and sitting in a wallet. And then, once we see the launch happen, everybody tends to dump on the charts when we get a little price appreciation. None of that can happen in our system. We also have a dump tax. So if you do happen to be able to get somehow Ark, somebody sends it to you and you're holding it in a wallet, but you don't have an Ark Vault account, and you try to sell that Ark, you would be subject to a total of a 63% sales tax for that Ark that's just sitting in a wallet with no participation in the Ark Vault. So we're not going to have any tokens in the wild unless they're earned out of the Ark Vault over time. And then we do have a sell cap of 200 ARK per day, which is a very conservative number in that if you look at our tokenomics and how much you can possibly earn out on a daily basis, that 200 sell cap isn't going to really be an issue for many people, especially since they're withdrawing earlier in the wallet life cycle. They're not going to have as many big paydays as they get towards max payout. So that mechanism in and of itself, just keeping those tokens out of the wild, not giving bags to people during the pre-sale that they can then later dump, is really going to take a lot of stress off the chart. And it also puts everybody into the same game. Everybody's in the same situation. Everybody's got to earn out their rewards. So it's really going to help, I think, slow down a lot of the behavior that we've seen with volatility in the chart, bad strategies from investors, and really keeps everybody sort of rowing in the same direction.
Okay, my smoke detectors are going off. The beauties of working from home.
That's all right. If you want to mute, I can talk about one other thing.
Yeah, you just keep going, brother.
Okay. One of the other key mechanisms, we talked about the up to 2% daily. So what we have is a little bit different NDV calculation. I know everybody's familiar with DRIP. Their NDV basically turns off the referral rewards if you go negative, if you get a negative NDV. But in our system, we looked at it a little bit differently. We looked at it more of as a liquidity equation. So basically the liquidity that you put into the system minus the liquidity that you're taking out, because we know that these systems, they run on liquidity. There's two different ways to get that liquidity. One, you can either deposit ARK, so you're putting in capital, or you can work for those referral rewards by going out and promoting ARK. So our NDV calculation is a combination of, on the positive side, deposits that you're making, fresh capital, and that can be DCAing in, adding more ARK in, or as you earn ARK, redepositing that back into your account, or going out and promoting the protocol and getting referral rewards. And that's the positive side of things. On the negative side of NDV is the withdrawals. So it's how much liquidity are you taking out? And if you go negative, you will fall from 2% daily down to 1% daily, sort of a throttling mechanism to stretch out the payout of your investment. So we looked at NDV, I think, in the right way in terms of sustainability for these ROI dApps. And then really what makes them tick is that capital and that liquidity being continuously promoted through people like yourself that are introducing the investment to other people and bringing in new investors to supply that capital that we know we need to keep a healthy liquidity pool.
Okay, the alarm's off for a minute, so let me go ahead and ask here. A lot of people are wanting to know, we're kind of in this bear market and people are just wanting to get straight to where does the revenue come from? So I think that's questions coming up about 6 or 7 times in the chat. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that next. What generates the income?
Sure. Yeah, we have a plan for external revenue sources to help feed the liquidity, and then also fund ecosystem expansion and new product development, which we know is also desperately needed in these systems. We want to always have a steady flow of new products to attract new capital and new investment to keep a healthy ecosystem. Maybe I can let Atlas, do you want to talk a little bit about our external investment plans, and then a little bit about the legacy NFTs and the investors that are helping support those?
Absolutely. Thank you, Brett. Well, look, we come from backgrounds of business development in the real world. When I introduced myself earlier, I told you that I worked in banking and oil trading, arbitrage, physical commodities, and developing renewable energy projects for over a decade in China and the United States. Right now, one of the proposals that we have for our investment community is to do an external investment over in Canada. Over in Alberta, Canada, there is a company that I'm doing business with, and they've been doing this for about 2 years, which is going to exactly where the oil wells are. They're doing shale fracking and taking the offset of the renewable source of natural gas, right? When they're doing their drilling, they have caps according to the environmental impact, where they either take that natural gas to market or they have to cap the well so it doesn't release. Generally, if you been through some oil fields, you see that they have these pipes coming out and they're flaring, they're burning off the gas, right? So taking it to market is extremely expensive. You have to invest on a long-term plan to create pipelines to take it to market. That's very expensive, time-consuming. So what this company is doing very effectively is that they're putting turbines and generators at the source and using the natural gas to produce energy to mine crypto, which, you know, everybody right now is like, oh, wait, mining crypto, that's not very profitable at the moment. Everything's going down. We're in a bear market. However, the main cost of being a validator and mining is that you have to pay your energy costs. That's where the drain is. That's where Elon Musk came and said, you know, Bitcoin is dirty. We're not accepting a Tesla anymore. Really referring to the demand on the grid that mining is having all over the world. The primary reason that they were kicked out of China, Bitcoin miners were kicked out because they were straining the whole chain. So the cost of that operation, you have to understand, it's actually free gas. The whole concept, James, of one man's trash is another man's gold. Well, this natural gas that they can't take to market, that's hurting their balance sheet as an oil producing company, is really our gold. And the cost of operation for that is around 1 cent per kilowatt hour. Okay, so it's quite fantastic. And then you combine into that equation the clear understanding that most of the major mining companies in crypto have gone out of business. They're bankrupt. They've had to turn the lights off. They can't keep the whole farms going. So those GPUs that were, you know, so sought after, you know, we're talking paying a couple X's over, you know, the retail price, waiting on waiting lists. We can pick those up for pennies on the dollar. So that's a fantastic operation. It's been going for 2 years. Of course, with anything that we do as far as external investments, let me be very clear. This is not our money. These are the funds of the legacy NFT investors. And that pool will be divided into several sections for external investments. And we have a DAO component where they get to do the research, check out the company. At this point, you also have to, you know, who are the officers of the company with what's been going around, right? Check everybody out, look at the balance sheet, and we're going to give them a couple of weeks to go do their due diligence and then come back to vote. So that's one aspect that we think is very, very important. We do not make that decision, myself, Brad, or Mr. Green Crypto. We have a fiduciary duty to present the opportunities, all of the contracts. You know, when you deal in the real world, you don't have smart contracts, but you've got legal contracts and parameters that we understand everybody will be able to look at and you know, do all of the study and analysis before voting. Another opportunity we have is with a hedge fund here in Europe, where they've been around for over 20 years. And they do what I could explain to you, James, as think of crowdfunding, okay? But at an institutional level, you know, they raise between $1.5 to $3 billion, mainly working with financial assets such as bonds. And they trade and arbitrage them between, let's say, counterparty A, which could be a bank, to counterparty C, which is a bank. And they're in the middle. They raise the funds to make the transaction. It can take a couple of weeks. The yield is insanely high. Now, it's not an opportunity that's there every week or every month. It's a special occasion and the kind of thing that me and you, little guys like us, we don't get invited to. However, we do have the relationship in having a larger fund that we can come and participate in and be a small part into something much bigger. Again, is a fantastic opportunity. There is still a lot of high yield in the real financial rails. You just have to have the right relationship and work with the right people. So again, we'll put that forward to our DAO. Check out the research. Let's look at the bond. Let's look at the issue. Let's look at all the other institutions, pensions funds, governments that are involved in those transactions, and let them come back and make their decision. So that's really the philosophy here. It's transparency and understanding that it is the investors who make these decisions. It's not up to us. And we hold that with high regard. It's part of our culture. And Those are two things that we can disclose at this point. We have also a bigger part here that's coming to Ark with the layer 1 that I mentioned before, running on renewable energy. So it all ties into a much bigger picture. Thank you.
Okay. No, that's good. And by the way, the house is saved. So well, that's good. Good to know. We're safe now. I would so questions that are kind of coming in from the audience. I'm kind of trying to condense them, but do you think that the revenue, the out revenue that you're bringing in is going to be enough to cover the rewards that you're paying out, or do you how do you feel like that's going to work? Have you run models and things like that? Just kind of what do you think is going to happen in that area?
Sorry, my phone just rang. Could you please repeat that?
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. So, do you think that the incoming revenue is going to be enough to give out the 2% or 0.5%, whatever range people are in, or how do you think that's going to work out? Have you run models to kind of see that, or what's kind of the plan? How do you think this is going to play out, like over the next 6 months or so?
Well, I think they're two things completely independent of each other, supporting each other. And the system in itself, through the mechanisms and taxes, support itself. This is additional revenue and income. It's not there to replace the system. It's been very well balanced for that long-term sustainability. And I think we all understand that the only way a system like this can continue to grow is through exposure. It's through always, every single day, bringing on new investors. With that in mind, we could probably agree, James, there's a lot of fatigue in DeFi right now, especially in the ROI DApp space. And we see that very clearly. Our intention is to not focus here in DeFi and in the ROI DApp space in particular. We feel it's a very small pond. Our goal here is really to go out to the real world. If you look at our website, it says there, it's DeFi simplified for the farmer, the Uber driver, the single mother with 2 kids, the nurse, the guy working at Walgreens, stacking the shelves that just hates his job and wants a better future for himself and his family. Those folks are like the rest of us in the globe right now, feeling inflation, understanding that the cost of living, understanding that the cost of energy is skyrocketing, that there's a lot of political global uncertainty, and everyone's, I believe, interested in at least risking a small amount, maybe 1%, 2% of what they might have sitting in fiat at a bank, decaying, cannibalizing at a pretty fast rate. We all understand the rates at the bank. I mean, that's why we're here in DeFi. So there are billions of people across the globe that really don't have an opportunity. They've never been able to come into DeFi. And that's our prime directive, James. That's where our growth is. That's where we feel that we're going to excel. In our team, he's not here. He's actually traveling as we speak to Japan. We have CryptoYan, who's been a layer 1 blockchain developer and a security specialist since 2013. And this man was a hacker that was recruited by the government of Holland and worked his way to be the head of IT security for the whole country. Fantastic gentleman, made a lot of money in crypto, got bored, went back to starting companies in the real world. Currently, he's still having the government contracts, but on the private sector side, not actually working directly as an employee of theirs, more of a consultant. And he has 2 firms that specialize in mobile app development for government, banks, and hedge funds. The top of the top, right? So 35 coders on those 2 companies, and they can develop some systems. I mean, it's mind-blowing. So our initiative here, fitting into that prime directive, James, is to create a mobile app that is super simple to use, a user interface, something that folks can really get behind. And let's say you're at a barbecue with some friends. You already ROI'd at Ark because it's very fast, completely backwards to everything else we've seen in the past, right? So you pretty quickly, you're feeling very confident, you're happy, you're earning, you're compounding one day, you're paying yourself another, which is, in my opinion, the second most important rule. Always get your initials back, always pay yourself. First one is, of course, don't invest what you can't afford to invest, right? So with that in line, you're sitting at the barbecue and you're talking about this investment, or maybe even in Christmas, and one of your friends is interested. He just has to download the Ark mobile app. He scans the QR code from your mobile app, and He's able to take out his debit credit card, purchase Ark, using his fiat card, and he's right under you in the whole protocol. He's just been added. He doesn't have to get MetaMask. You don't have to sit there for 2 hours and walk him through it, which I'm sure you've been there, James. So very simple for the little guy, what we call here the average Joe. And one of my favorite sayings is, we want to turn average Joes to savage Joes, right? Through investing, but doing it responsibly in a very easy format that we're talking here, grandmothers, young teenagers, they could come into Ark and just through that mobile app be able to manage it. So that's really where our focus is. And I hope you understand that, we understand the current situation that's happening here in the ROI dat space and DeFi. We don't want to fight for, position on the musical chairs game. We are crossing over. We have a great set of leaders, founders. SK's been an advisor here for me since February. We have Dr. Kelly Snook. Her skills, her experience. She built a special calculator for us. We'll go over. So it's a fantastic team that we've built here in this space, but we're poised to cross that bridge over, hence the name, the Ark. We're all coming into this fantastic protocol that's going to get us through, they call it now the Ice Age. I've heard it going around that it's not even crypto winter anymore. And I think we've done a pretty good job, James. We raised $1,229,000 through a private and pre-sale round in the worst crypto market situation out there, because people are really identifying what's different about Ark, how the whole system is really put together for everyone to get a win. Very tight controls, but those controls have to be there because folks, these degens, James, I know you know those guys. They always try to find a way. Yeah. So that's our prime directive, and I believe that's where we're really going to excel. Folks need to come to DeFi, and especially with all the stuff that's going around, folks are understanding that you don't want to depend on a corporation, a centralized corporation where you don't know what they're doing with your funds. Through smart contracts, we want to educate all the investors from a very high level. What is DeFi? Taking the middleman out of finance. What are smart contracts? How do I trust that? Well, it's trustless. Let me explain to you why. So a lot of our marketing efforts is really community-based, but also outreach to be able to communicate to those folks that are not the people you're surrounded with here all the time. So yeah, we've got a great, I think, journey ahead. It's a very long journey, but we're very excited, and there's no doubt that we have a fantastic team here that's able to accomplish it. Let's get this crypto.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love the Bible reference. So yeah, definitely a fan of the name. That's good. So question for you, as we're talking about this, what happens if you don't have enough new people come in? What are you planning to do with the rewards pool? Are you planning to, again, that's just what we've seen, time and time again with too many projects. So I guess just wondering what your plan is. And by the way, yeah, congrats on this pre-sale. That is really impressive in this type of market to raise that much money. But what's kind of the plan if new people aren't coming in a couple months?
Well, look, we are pretty clear, as I told you in our prime directive. This is not something that we're kind of going to gamble and just be like, okay, let's see what happens. We are already in talks with some pretty large multi-level marketing groups out in the real world. We're talking, 120, 150,000 people that understand these systems that have referrals and absolutely are looking for an opportunity in DeFi. So we're not concerned so much about our growth. We also have a sister blockchain that I've been consulting for some time. They're onboarding 3,000 new members from the real world a day. Like I said, we're not very concerned with our growth. However, we believe that through the whole tokenomics and the way that the smart contracts have been put together, that we've given ourselves a really long runway, okay? Giving ourselves enough space to be able to get all the marketing materials out there. We're paying, I believe, Brett, is it almost half of what all these other protocols that have gone before have? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, about the net payout is very conservative relative to some of the other ROI dApps.
So this is a system, James, that's really built for the bear market, understanding that the sentiment, everything's kind of really slow. But like I said, you know, a lot of these projects, and maybe the perspective that you're looking at, is people that have just sat here in the small pond and trying to fish the same customers and investors from each other. And if you do that, you know, a lot of, you know, respect to everybody who's trying to do that. But I think that model is a broken model. It's a failed model. It's a model that, if you look at those charts, I think you would probably agree with me. So if you have a different business strategy, if your end user is someone completely different, and you understand that and you give yourself enough leeway. We started with this fantastic community, and primarily, James, is to have folks that understand ROI dApps, that are great investors, to, you know, come in here. I mean, CryptoZoa is writing amazing articles about us. Like, we have here a great foundation of great leaders and investors that are going to be able to come and cross that bridge with us, and together be able to speak to those folks. But you know, not to ignore what you're saying, through the way that's been designed, there's enough space to give us that sustainable long term. If you ask, what if nobody showed up? I mean, I think the lights would have to go off everywhere. We'd have to have a sort of Armageddon, something happening that would just make everything pretty much stop. And if it did, then I think it would be the same for everyone else. And at the same time, we understand that the contracts will continue to function through their immutability until really the last, you know, Ark is left to be cashed in.
Okay. Nope. Thanks for that answer. No, I appreciate that. And just, yeah. And I just want people to have all the info. So again, this might not be your type of project to get into. And so again, I just want to present it and let people know what's going on. So can you talk through, we got through the first part, so we kind of understand that the vault is here. Can you tell us a little bit about the Ark Foundation and what that is?
Sure, I can talk about that one. So that's really akin to like the drip reservoir in a way. But when I looked at the drip reservoir, I said, you know, what's really going to incentivize people more to invest in this? There's, you know, a lot of campaigns going even right now to try to bolster the amount of deposits and increase the liquidity for drip. So we wanted to add an extra incentive, I would say. So not just above and beyond the, you know, the deposit tax referral, or sorry, the rewards pool that's there that pays out, you know, it pays out a dividend. So we wanted to keep that component. So there is a rewards pool attached to the foundation. That is our liquidity pool, and it's a Ark BUSD liquidity pool. So more stable, not attached to a token that's, you know, volatile and subject to as much market change. But then the other piece that we added in there was we made a deposit value into the foundation and a certain bond value. We call our LP token the bond. We made that a qualification for your referral reward levels. So there's two different ways to get referral reward levels. One is by making a deposit into the foundation, then holding the bond, and then the value of that bond will qualify you for those downlines. So just like drip, we have 15 downlines. The other way to qualify for those downlines is through the legacy NFTs that Atlas mentioned as part of the ownership protocol, and the ones that are going to be participating in those external investments. But the foundation itself, very similar to the reservoir, but that has added utility for qualification of the referral rewards and getting your levels to qualify for both direct deposits. I'll just go through those real quick because that's pretty important. The direct deposit rewards are 5% of all deposits, so not just an initial deposit. So anytime someone makes a deposit, whether that's fresh capital, using BUSD to buy Ark, or taking Ark and redepositing it into their account, they'll get those 5% of referral rewards from all directs on their level one. And then we have a round robin system that's a little bit unique. We may not have time to go into that too extensively, but we do have a different way of rewarding folks through the round robin system. But as far as compounding goes, 5% of the compound gets paid upwards or upline 15 levels. And so if you have a bond value high enough to capture levels below, then you'll be able to capture that 5% compound reward as well through the round robin.
Okay. Yeah. And one of the benefits of this is it's adding to the liquidity, right? Like drip, the reservoir and drip is actually a really, really good idea and just keeps that liquidity going up. One of the problems drip has had is that the liquidity hasn't gone up nearly as fast as the TVL. So that's been hard, but I think a good strategy to increase that liquidity and reward people for adding liquidity.
Yeah, and the other piece to this, we have a couple components to that. One is that we believe by adding those referral reward levels, the qualification for those referral reward levels, people will stay in that investment, and hold on to that, especially if they're following a multi-wallet strategy or they're team building. So even a solo player that might have, the sort of the cat's out of the bag on the multi-wallet strategy. And so by adding that qualification requirement to receive those rewards through this bond LP and through the foundation, we think that can really support liquidity, both short term and long term, and then give people a reason to recompound and keep taking and putting those rewards back in, not taking them back out. The other piece to that, I'll just mention it real quick. We have what's called Spark rewards. And if you go through our round robin system a little bit, what you're going to see is that if there's a wallet that doesn't qualify to receive compound rewards, that 5% reward, those then get paid to our top wallet, which is called the Guardian wallet, which is just an extension of our tax vault. But 50% of all of the rewards that the Guardian wallet receives on a daily basis will then go into a lottery system. And we use a verifiably random number to select qualifying wallets on a daily basis. And then we take that rewards pool we call the Spark pool, and we distribute those out to those winners. So it's kind of a neat little like raffle type system, but it's a way to fully decentralize those compound rewards for people that don't qualify and can't receive them, that end up going to that Guardian wallet. We then distribute those out to those winners every day. So it's not only kind of a fun twist on things, but it's something we can do randomly every day during our daily podcast that Atlas puts on, and we kind of make an event out of it. But then also those rewards pools can get significant to where it can really change somebody's account in the Ark Vault. All those Spark rewards get paid into their wallet as a referral reward. So it really helps their NDV too, to help them try to stay positive and keep the 2% daily. So another incentive for people to at least qualify for their level 1 bond, their level 1 referral rewards, or hold a legacy NFT. So those are the two qualification requirements to be eligible for the Spark rewards. You got to at least have a level 1 of in the foundation as your bond investment, or hold a legacy NFT.
Okay, very good. No, I like that. Can we go to? I want to talk about the NFT here that you have, and then we have a few questions from the audience. So, audience, if you have questions, feel free to ask. I'll bring those up, and then I'd like to know kind of about the launch coming up and how people can get involved. So, first, can you kind of tell us about these legacy NFTs?
Sure. Yeah, the legacy NFTs are really, I would consider to be a separate investment from the vault or even the foundation. It's really our ownership protocol. So an investment, whether you purchase a silver, gold, or platinum, which are the 3 different levels of the legacy NFT, they'll give you different utilities in the protocol. So they will allow you to have a more flexible compound withdrawal ratio schedule that we talked about previously. They'll also qualify you for different levels of your referral rewards. So the silver is 3 levels, the gold is 9, and then the platinum is 15 levels down. And then they also give you DAO votes into the external investments and any protocol changes, expansions, new product development, all these things that Atlas mentioned earlier. That DAO is really going to be the governance protocol for the ecosystem. So the legacy NFT gives you additional utility, but then also has an ROI component. So 20% of all of the minting costs for the legacy NFTs go into a rewards pool, and those are paid out 2% daily. Then all the buys and sells have a 1.5% fee that also feeds the legacy NFT rewards pool. So that's a constant top up. And then a portion of our external investment revenue will also feed into that rewards pool. So that rewards pool should be growing as people mint more and more legacy NFTs, but then also these other sources from the ecosystem fees to the external investments feeding into those. It really becomes its own little ROI engine. So the legacy NFTs, we just had a great article that Catalyst from Cryptozoa wrote, and how he's already profiting because we had the pre-sale on those just this last week. And he talks about his return on investment he's getting already from those. So we see that rewards pool working. And we really think that people that have a long-term vision for the protocol, those are the people that are going to be most interested in the legacy NFTs and see the real benefits, not only how they can play their Ark Vault account, but then also the additional benefits of the DAO and then the payback through the ROI system and the rewards pool.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and here's this chart here, ways to increase. Can you talk about the public sale coming up, or ways that people can get involved? And how did the pre-sale go too is another thing I wanted to ask about.
Sure, Atlas, did you want to talk about the upcoming launch and the pre-sale?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we will have here is Friday, December 16th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. UTC is the official launch of the Ark Vault, and all of the contracts really working in unison. We've done a staggered launch up until this date, making sure that everything is primarily safe. We've done our audits with CertiK, but that, I think, you know, James, it's not enough for you to feel that you've got this great security blanket you can sleep at comfortable every night. We've hired a secondary audit firm, which is Driven. Dave also came back with absolute fantastic praise for the contracts. Mr. Green, which, by the way, he doesn't like to toot his own horn too much, James, but I've seen this guy take, you know, a Solidity contract of 900 lines and just look at it and be like, okay, well, okay, that's how they do it. All right. And then just turn around and in 2 minutes, whip it all out in 73, 74 lines of Solidity code, much safer, just something that you can actually read and understand if you're not a Solidity dev. So none of this black box mysterious stuff. So that was the second set of audits done here at Ark. And then the third thing we did was a bounty program for professional hackers of Solidity. We were able to get 3 of the best hackers in the whole world. The people that you don't want to have on the wrong side of your contract, if you know what I mean, just completely beat the brakes off of this. And 3 for having, you know, an assurance that these folks are not friends and are not going to give you a biased, you know, view. Potentially, we're looking at tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars being locked into the Ark Vault and the whole ecosystem. So priority goes always to safety. It was quite expensive to do all this, James. However, when it comes to security, I don't think you can really spare any expense. So that all comes together December 16th. We invite all of you to come and partake. We do want to be clear, you will not receive when you purchase through our DApp the ArkFi token. It will not go to your wallet. It would be directly deposited for you into your Ark Vault account. You'll be able to start earning. You'll be able to purchase the bond LP to get your reward levels, or purchase one of the amazing legacy NFTs.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for walking through that. So yes, and we have a whole bunch of questions from the audience, and I know we're not going to have time for all of them because I don't like to go too much longer than an hour. But let's try to get through some of those. Let's see here. What is the biggest challenge your team has right now? Would you say it's staffing, growth, marketing, or something else?
Brett, you want to take that one?
Sure. I would say, you know, we're right in the middle of a launch. And if anybody's participated in one of these projects, you know, it's all hands on deck. We've got all cylinders firing right now, marketing, development, our community leaders as well. We have a very active Telegram group, and we have administrators there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I feel like we've put a lot of the components together that people would expect to see from a very professional, very high level DeFi organization. And we've really attracted, I think, some of the best leaders that we possibly could from the existing the foundation level that that Atlas talked about, the investors that we really want to have in here to educate. So I think the next phase, or I would say a challenge that we have, is just a bottleneck of how fast we can crank out new products, and then also bring into the mass market this mobile application and the education tools and pieces that we know are going to be necessary to help bridge people over from traditional, finance to crypto and DeFi. So I'd say that's probably our biggest challenge. I would say that we've kind of met all of our goals at this point, and we've been very effective from a team standpoint in knocking down the milestones that we've been after. So I don't expect that to hold up or slow us down much. But obviously we have a lot of work to do. So yeah, it's all hands on deck, and we're really, everybody's working so hard right now to just meet that launch date, make sure that everything's buttoned up and secure, and that the community's, fired up and ready to start buying ArkFi on the 16th.
Launch time's always so calm and no stress at all, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing going on in the background. Just ignore all that.
Just ignore all that.
Got it under control.
Do you want to talk about, so what we've been seeing as a trend in DeFi is the liquidity manager, where it's keeping your coin pegged to something. Are you guys doing anything like that?
Yeah, we are. We can talk a little bit about that. Obviously, there's some intellectual property, just some proprietary information about that. We can't disclose everything right now. But we will have what we call our intelligent liquidity controller active at launch. And so this is the first project that we're aware of that has launched with a liquidity type controller, or LMS. We've heard that term in the past. But one of the things I can disclose and that we're doing different than others is we're not going to have a pegged price. We see flat lines and charts, and then we see, a red candle. Obviously, it can be a green candle, but the ones that scare people are a red candle. And it just creates that fear and the FUD that something's changed, or the liquidity's drying up. And 80% of the investors don't understand it. 20%, get it, and they see it, maybe a 25-cent or 30-cent drop in the price, and it's not alarming. But what it does to the sentiment in the community is create bad strategies, bad behaviors, and we've seen it even turn into kind of run on the bank scenarios. So we've eliminated the peg concept, and we're moving towards what we've developed is I'll say, dynamic system. So it's more of what you're used to in a chart, but without the volatility and the wild swings, and a way to really control liquidity so that we don't see these big hockey sticks and, then big red candles down the other side. So what we want to do is behave more like I would say, blue chip dividend paying stock than a traditional DeFi crypto token.
Okay. Nope. That makes a lot of sense. Would you guys be open to do a TruthSeekers audit?
Everybody brings that up. Yeah,
they're popular right now.
Yeah, we're aware. I've actually followed the TruthSeekers guys from the beginning. Kind of know where it all came from when the animal farm launched, and some issues that arose there. But we, as Atlas mentioned, we have a very tight audit trail. We also have on our team the head of security for the IT department of Holland. And then we've also hired these hackers to, whack away at our contracts. So we feel like on the security front, we have a pretty good handle on things, but we're open to talking to anyone. I don't know if we've talked about collaborations and partnerships and things, but you can see that we're already actively engaged with some other protocols and people in the space. So we're very open to, having relationships, not just with other DeFi projects, but also people in the space that are there to help and protect investors.
Okay, nope, I totally get that. And then do you want to talk a little bit? Yeah, this is something that a lot of people have brought up to me as one of the things they really like. Do you want to talk about your partnership with Ultimo and what that will do for the protocol?
Sure, I'll go ahead and take that one. Well, listen, as a crypto investor and trader since 2016, I understand the perils that you can go through. I had accounts in the United States shut down, going back around those days for buying crypto. And that always is something that has been, a bit upsetting to me, the controls and, the same bank, I'm not going to say their name, but 3 years later was, putting advertisements out saying, hey, you can use our credit card to go buy crypto. It's a great investment. So look, we're seeing a progression here to a lot of controls. I just shared in our podcast. We do a podcast, by the way, James, every single night from 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for about, I would say 2-3 hours average. Last night it was 4 hours long, but we're very engaged with the community. And we went over the new European Union protocol for transactions where they want to put a limit of $10,000 per transaction. So imagine you've got billions of dollars now, you can only send out 10,000, and very strict KYC, as well as for companies that are transacting with crypto wallets, they want to put a $1,000 in equivalent, or euro to be exact, per transaction. So it's getting very stringent, and we feel that the whole culture here is financial freedom of Ark. And by having Ultimo as a partner, we really see a great benefit for folks to be able to have that offshore account. Of course, we encourage and ask that all investors follow the tax codes and rules in their jurisdiction. However, that is a responsibility that is not ours. It is the investors, and up to you to make those financial decisions. So the product is fantastic. We've got investors, friends, people I've known in DeFi for a while who are using those cards and being able to make purchases without limits, as well as go to ATMs and pull, their cash out, their hard-earned cash here into, the risk they take in being in DeFi. So couldn't have come at a better time as we're seeing things tighten up. And that is a product that not everyone might want to use here at Ark, but if you do, you're able to use that. And also their fiat onboarding is also going to be a part of Ark. So great partnership. Just to be clear, we are not going to be in custody of any KYC documents or client funds or wallets, crypto, fiat. That is not the business that we do. We're just, really connecting from our DApp and our website, our investors to Ultimo so they could set up their account. That's what those guys do. Great reputation. The guys are absolutely fantastic. Great confidence in that team.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up there. Just some final words and thoughts that I had for the audience, just kind of reading through the comments discussion. So one thing I really like what the Ark team has said about get out your, and the same thing that holds true in pretty much all investments is going to hold true here too. Get out your initial and play with house money. This is probably not going to last for the next 100 years. So don't just compound into oblivion. And I really like that they don't even let you do that. They encourage you, no, take your profits earlier. A lot of protocols are the opposite. They tell you to just keep, like, again, I don't mean to pick on drip, but they just tell you, we have people still, if you go in the Telegram, half the comments are still just hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And it's like, at some point you need to make sure you get your initial out. So I really like that about this team. Really appreciate their just authenticity and their transparency. So do really like that. So I'm going to go ahead and close there because we're hit an hour and I need to go sleep because I feel it's getting worse as time goes on. So you can pray for a quick recovery for me with my illness. But audience, thank you guys so much. You guys had wonderful questions, great discussions going on in the comments. If you have more questions that you didn't get answered, I want to leave a link. Here's a link to their Discord and to their Telegram. They would be more than happy. I mean, I didn't ask them this, but I'm assuming they would be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you want to go in and argue about the tokenomics, that's probably fine. They would appreciate some, criticism and, some back and forth about, hey, we don't think this is going to work for this or this. So definitely do that. And yeah, it looks like you got a great community that hopped on here today. So thank you everyone who was a part of it. And thank you, Ark team, for coming on. Thank you for building during the bear market. And thank you for coming on, presenting your project and being open about everything that you're doing. And let me know if I can help as you move forward.
Thank you so much, James. Appreciate the time today.
Yeah, nope, it was a lot of fun. Thank you guys and have a great rest of your day.
Take care, James. Hope you feel better, buddy.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night.